The movie begins with a group of miners doing their job, but one of them gets so scared that he runs away from the mine after seeing Tai Lung. One of the most powerful villains, Tai Lung, is back, and he has returned to take what belongs to him. He spares no life by burning the entire place to ashes. Meanwhile, Po's adoptive father, Mr. Ping, is as usual worried about his son's safety, but Lai San, Po's real father, tells him to relax, that their son will be fine. Meanwhile, we see Po performing his duties as the Dragon Warrior, defending the city against all threats as usual. He fights and defeats a stingray that tries to eat the kids of a couple. His fan shows up to remind him how much they love him and also ask for his autograph, but that's when his master Shifu shows up. Shifu says he wants to speak with him privately, but Po promises to see him later because of the ceremony he wants to attend. The fans ask of the Furious Five, but Po explains that each of them have gone for a separate kung fu mission. Master Shifu appears again, and this time, Po decides to leave the great moment he is enjoying with his fans and decided to hear what he has to say. Shifu tells him that the time has come for him to take the next step on his journey. It is time for him to choose his successor, a successor to be the next Dragon Warrior. Po isn't happy to hear this and wonders what he is going to be doing if not being the Dragon Warrior. Shifu replies that once his successor is selected, Po will be promoted to the highest level in all of Kung Fu, with the job of passing along wisdom and aspiring hope. Po states that he doesn't know anything about passing wisdom. He still wants to stick with two things, which is kicking butts and taking names. He tries to convince Shifu that he doesn't want the promotion because being the Dragon Warrior is what he wants, but Shifu insists he chooses a successor. The next morning, Po is brought to the arena to watch the skills of 5 candidates on whom he must choose the best among them as the Dragon Warrior. The candidates are quite impressive, but when the time comes for him to choose the next Dragon Warrior, Po chooses himself. Even though Po claims choosing the next successor is too hard for him, Shifu advises that he should sit and meditate under the tree in the valley to ask the universe for answers. While he does so, he keeps getting distracted. All of a sudden, Po sees a fox sneaking inside the Jade Palace. Obviously, she's a thief as she tries stealing the precious items in the palace, so he does what he is supposed to do, stopping her. He is so astonished because her skills is nothing he has never seen in his entire life. Of course, she gives him a hard time, but Po being the Dragon Warrior isn't all for nothing. He still defeats the fox and sends her to prison immediately. But the next news Po is about to hear will scare him a lot. Group of buffaloes runs to meet him and informs Po that Tai Lung is back and he is destroying the whole town and won't stop until he sees the Dragon Warrior bowing before him. Sensing the fox might know something about all these, Po travels to the Valley of Peace prison to meet her. She wants to know what's in it for her if she tells him what he wants to know, but Po wants her to spill the beans really fast because Tai Lung is out on the loose. The fox replies that maybe someone mysterious wants everyone to think it was Tai Lung. Who might that be? She is referred to as the Empress of Disguise, capable of taking any form, mimicking any shape, the master of deception. She is no other person but the chameleon. The chameleon is the only powerful shape-shifting sorceress, and the fox believes she actually shape-shifted into Tai Lung. Where can he find this chameleon? Fox lets him know that the chameleon is not someone that can be found without her help. Po has no choice but to free the fox from prison, and makes a deal with her to reduce her sentences after she leads him to the chameleon. While they begin their journey to find this sorceress, the fox introduces herself to Po as Zen. News spreads really fast and everyone is seen talking about this chameleon and what she's capable of. Meanwhile, all the Kung Fu masters are being summoned, and guess who summoned them? The chameleon. The bear complains on how they used to run the city, but now they are paying her from all the money they swingle. He suggests to the other masters that they should unite their skills to take down the chameleon. But Master Croc reminds them that the chameleon is a shapeshifter. She is so dangerous to the extent that she can be sitting with them at this very table and they will have no idea. To their surprise, Croc shapeshifts to her real form, and it's no other person but the chameleon. She has nothing against them for bad-mouthing and backstabbing against her because she really is so close in achieving something very big, and due to that, she increases the Master's monthly tributes to 70%. Although she forgave the Masters for their backstabbing, but that doesn't mean she wouldn't punish them. She shapeshifts into an elephant and pushes them out of the chambers expecting their tributes at dawn or she will kill them. Later that night, Po's 2 fathers catches themselves sneaking out. They are both worried about Po after hearing about the dominant enemy their son Po is about to face. Maybe Po has finally met his match, so they both set out on a journey to assist their son in the fight. Meanwhile, Po and Zen reach a river that leads to the Universe City, where the chameleon stays. But first they branch at a bar to find a boat captain to ride them to the place. The bar is very scary indeed, because that's where all the criminals come to gamble and drink. The boat captain accepts to ride them to the Universe City after Po gives him a bag of gold. After all negotiations, Po sees Zen eating a huge pile of meal. She gained the money she used to buy all those stuffs from winning a gamble, but the criminals surrounds her after realizing she cheated. To avoid any trouble, Po is willing to give them all the money they lost, but the criminals are more interested in kicking their butts. The criminals attacks them and Po's defense mechanism kicks in. He activates the power in the Staff of Wisdom Oogway gave him, and he defeats them all in one strike. The building collapses, but luckily Po and Zen lands on the very boat that is to take them to the Universe City. Po finds out that Zen is an orphan. It wasn't easy for her, so she had to survive any way she could, which is by stealing stuffs. Until one day, a local took her in, placed a roof on her head, gave her food to eat, and trained her how to fight. On the other hand, the Kung Fu Masters meets Chameleon to pay the tribute she requested, but she sends them to get her more. Her soldiers produces weapons which she plans to use to take over the world, but it's actually just Po having a dream which he claims to be a vision. Po becomes more desperate in taking down the Chameleon as soon as possible, but Zen tells him they have already arrived at the Universe City. As soon as Po enters the city, he falls in love with it because of the wonderful smells of food everywhere, but the city isn't as amazing as it used to be because Chameleon is now in charge of it. She has been forcefully taking gold from the citizens. Why? We will find out. Po notices that Zen is quite famous in the city, but she lets him know it's not for a good reason. She is the most wanted criminal, and just as they head to the Chameleon chambers, the law enforcers chases after Zen as a wanted criminal, and they also chase Po as a suspect for being an accomplice for the criminal. It's a really long chase, but the enforcers loses trace of them when Zen leads Po to a secret place underground. The people in this place are not just her friends, but Jen says that they are like a family to her, but they don't seem welcoming. They bring out their blades to punish Shen for leaving them. She introduced them to Po as the Dragon Warrior, but they have no idea on what that means. Just as Po is about to kick to defend himself, he remembers what Master Shifu told him, that there are other ways to bring peace other than kicking butts. He then quotes a word of wisdom to try and make peace between them, but it turns out to be word of foolishness when it worsens the matter. Meanwhile, Mr. Ping and Lai San are on a journey looking for Po. Ping enters that same bar Po once attacked, and when the criminals finds out he is related to the Dragon Warrior, they decided to finish him off. Lai San thinks of a way to save him, and finally, he gets an idea. He enters the bar acting all-powerful and claiming he was the one who trained the Dragon Warrior, but the only difference between him is that he shows no mercy to his opponent. His plan worked as they were all afraid of him, and they told him the path Po took. Zen and Po are busy practicing on a way to take down the Chameleon in a single strike. He plans to use the Staff of Wisdom to trap her and then use the finger hold to send her to the spirit world. As soon as training was over, Jen and Po sneak inside Chameleon Castle from the back door. All their soldiers are asleep, which means they can easily enter the chamber as long as they don't make a single sound. But quietness isn't a thing for Po. A single smelling fat from him wakes up the soldiers. They manage to get in after a long chase, but Po gets caught in a trap. He gives Zen his staff to help him break the cage, but that is when he sees Zen's true colors. He realizes that Zen is no other person but an apprentice of the Chameleon, and she hands over his Staff of Wisdom to her. First rule of the street, never trust anyone. Po also realizes that that person in Zen's story who adopted her is the Chameleon. 10 years ago, when Chameleon is passing with her guards, little Zen tries to steal from her, but she gets caught. Chameleon immediately liked her because she has no fear and took her in. Chameleon tells Po that she too came from humble beginnings. She wanted something more. She wanted to be special by becoming a Kung Fu master, but she was turned away from every training hall she went to, saying she was too small and Kung Fu was not her destiny. So because of that, she chose a different path, sorcery. Since she now has access to the spirit realm, she plans to steal the Kung Fu of Tai Lung and other powerful masters, so she will become unstoppable. Po tries to break out of the cage, but she tells him it's a waste of time because she already sealed it with sorcery, which will take about 10 dragon warriors to open. Since he can't go through the cage, he decides to go under it. He uses his Kung Fu to dig underground for his freedom, but he gets into a more bigger trouble after he gets surrounded by thousands of her soldiers. He manages to escape, but Chameleon disguised as Zen deceives him and throws him off the building. Zen isn't happy because Chameleon never told her that someone was going to get hurt. But Zen gets reminded of the second rule of the street. Someone must always get hurt. Po isn't dead yet, but is holding onto a tree for his very dear life. A soldier tries to devour him, but his both dads comes to his rescue. Po is so disappointed because he thinks they are here because they don't believe in him, but his disappointment lies mostly on trusting the wrong person. Only if he should have just listened to Master Shifu and stay in the Valley of Peace, the Chameleon wouldn't have gotten his staff and none of all this would have happened. but his dad tells him never to feel guilty because all he ever did was for the best for the city. They have no time left because when the full moon arrives, Chameleon is going to open the gate to the spirit world and all its secrets will be hers. Just as the moon arrives, Chameleon wastes no time but to open the spirit world and summons Tai Lung back. She lets him know on the reason she summoned him so he can teach her his legendary kung fu skills, but Tai Lung isn't someone you can tell what to do, not to talk of sharing his skills. He tries to leave, but she closes the gate to the spirit world. Angrily, Tai Lung fights all her guards and defeats them in seconds. He tries to do the same for the chameleon, who uses the opportunity to take his kung fu moves away from him. After shape-shifting into Tai Lung, Chameleon defeats him with just a punch. Not just Tai Lung, Chameleon takes the kung fu moves of every master in the spirit world. Zen realizes her wrongdoings by serving an evil master, but decides to redeem herself. She meets Po on his way to the Chameleon Palace and asks for his forgiveness, but Po is not ready to trust her for the second time. Zen blocks his road as she doesn't want him to fight Chameleon, whom he obviously is no match for and will get him killed. Zen even fights him just to try and stop him from walking to his death, but at the end hugs and begs him not to go. Even though he can't beat her, he has to try. He tells Zen to get as far away from this place as possible. Po dads are worried because Po is going to face both Chameleon and her army, but Chen suggests that they just have to get an army of their own to help him. They call on all their friends to fight the Chameleon army. On the other hand, Po finally confronts Chameleon. He demands for his staff back, and to his surprise, she handed it over to him because she already has everything she needs from it anyway. Po tries to use the words of wisdom to advise Chameleon that she's still got a chance to change from her evil ways, but after he gets a kick in the belly, he decides to follow his own instincts, which is by kicking butts. Chameleon uses the moves of every masters as she shift into them to fight Po. Zen shows up to assist Po, making it 2 against 1. Chameleon decides to do something new. She combines each special parts of the master into one body, and this time, Po seems outmatched. Chameleon shapeshifts into Po, which didn't just get him defeated, but also get trapped in a cage for the second time. This isn't something he could do by himself anymore, and hands over the staff to Zen to fight Chameleon. Zen defeats Chameleon with the Staff of Wisdom, but that wasn't the end. When they all get distracted celebrating, Chameleon tries to attack again, but Po finishes her off with the staff and returns the kung fu moves of every master. Oogway wasn't wrong about Po after all, and all the masters including Tai Lung bows down to Po in respect. He sends them back to the spirit world. As they all return to the Jade Palace, Po chooses Zen to be his successor as the Dragon Warrior, and the Furious Five arrives to train her. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.